Hello, everyone. We're live. My name is Jay, and I'm a DevRel engineer over here at the Midnight Foundation. Happy February to everyone who's tuning in today. Today, we'll cover the Global Game Jam that was just ended on Sunday. We'll be talking to a couple of the game creators today. It was great to see new people that are joining the community from the Global Game Jam. Nice to meet you all, and welcome to the community. So, we'll be talking about the games with their creators, preview some of the gameplay, and understand how Midnight fits into video games. After recapping the Global Game Jam, we'll hop into community updates by sharing community developed tools. And lastly, we'll go over foundation and network updates. Now, I'd like to kick us off by going over the games that were submitted by two of the jammers that are here with us today. It's my pleasure to welcome Will and Anthony to the stage so that they can discuss their games. Hello, Will, and hi, Anthony. How are you doing today?
Morning.
Great, thanks for having me, Jay.
Awesome. Welcome to the stage. So, Will, can you introduce yourself and tell us what made you participate in GGJ this year with Midnight?
Sure. Yeah, my name's Will. I was previously a game developer, like 4 years ago, for a long time, but then switched into the sort of agricultural technology space. But I've also had an eye on blockchains. So how these three come together is sort of in my game of like basically you're a food company simulator, like operation simulator. So if anyone played games like Chocolatier back in the late 2000s, which is a while ago now, it's kind of that idea of like you're buying. So you have like various produce. In my case, it's a hazelnut chocolate bar, and you're like buying ingredients from from various places in the world, and then selling it as well, and then incorporating my flip on it was incorporating blockchain aspects to that to see like if things are more public, then how does that affect the gameplay, and if things are semi-public, like if you're doing selective disclosure, how does that thing affect the gameplay?
Oh, it'd be great to get into that. When you said agricultural gaming, my initial knee-jerk reaction was Farmville. That's probably the biggest agricultural game people know. And playing around with your game, it reminded me of a war game, kind of that was text-based also, that had a similar mapping. But we'll get into more of those details once we preview your game. So thank you for the intro. Now, Will, can you let us know, Anthony, can you let us know who you are and what made you participate in GGJ with Midnight?
Uh, Thanks for having me again, Jay. Well, my name's Anthony. I go by Mr. Paranormal online, and honestly, what got me into the global game jam was actually you, Jay. That was my first time ever competing in that game jam, so I could, it's been a while since I've done one, and it's honestly, who's gonna pass up a game jam, right? So honestly, it was a great time. But yeah, well, my background really is I start off as a game developer as well back in my younger days, and I've just been developing projects on the side. Got into crypto. Luckily, I got to meet you over there in London, and it was a great experience. Learning the like midnight tools and all that. It was awesome. So it was fun to actually bring that level of privacy into the gaming sphere.
And it was crazy timing because you started sending me clips of another video game you're working on. And I was like, hey, Global Game Jam's coming up. Let's all do something. So perfect timing. I think it's a great opportunity to get involved with gaming and Midnight. So I want to thank you both for coming onto the stage. And I brought you to here because you were the most active in a GGJ throughout the past week. I saw you posting updates about your games, being excited, and also publishing. And you're one of the few that published. For anyone who isn't aware, we published 5 different video games on the Global Game Jam as part of the Midnight Global Game Jam. If you scan the QR code there, you can see the other games that were submitted. I'll be reaching out to them to see how we can help them go on to pre-prod and eventually mainnet and publish their games. So with that said, I'd like for us to go over your video games, for you to share what is your game, what inspired it, and what did you plan to use Midnight for? It looks like we have Anthony's game up first, so let's move over to Anthony.
All right. So Midnight Bounty. So I really didn't have any idea what I was going to do, which is always fun. So I waited for the theme that came out from the Global Game Jam. And once they announced it, I immediately got an inspiration. Uh, so really, the game is inspired from games like Buckshot Roulette and Among Us. So it's a social deduction type of game where players will vote on who is the who end up getting well, winning actually. So the game's theme is essentially four heistmen completed a heist. Now they're on their way out, but do you want to split the loot? So that's where the gaming gameplay comes in. You essentially got four players. You got every round it's a card game, so every round you get a new card. And the way I planned on adding midnight into this is because uh, you're going to be able to say who your votes if you're not on midnight. But with midnight, we'll be adding the privacy layer of hiding those votes and verifying that they're actually, playing fair. Did you want me to go ahead and show some gameplay?
Yeah, sure. I think it'd be great to show some gameplay. I see some comments from Spy Crypto social deduction games. Yeah, those kind of games work perfectly. Where you're not sure, who's who. I think the audio is
It's a
pretty
little hard.
loud. If you want to bring it down a bit so that we can hear you.
Yeah. Okay, I just muted the site. Is that better?
Oh yeah, we can hear you clearly.
Okay. So yeah, it starts off four heistmen in a vehicle, and when you just start the game, you randomly get picked as a character. So right now, and I'm getting to decide. Uh, I get a damage card and a pass. If I decide to pass, I'll get two more cards on the next round. Now, I don't know if my other players, which this will be other, other players playing down the road, we won't know if they're going to do the same thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and pass right now. There it gives you kind of a brief introduction. It turns out two of the guys switched on us and they just kind of murdered us. And now I'm out of that round, and now it's just up to them two. So the game could, end fairly quickly, and it could also, last. It's fairly small, like about 2 to 3 minutes at the most. And you have different abilities such as defending, passing, and working on some others. But that's kind of the gist of it. I know it's kind of rough, but it was made in a short amount of time.
I mean, the entire Global Game Jam is really just kind of a weekend. So I think it's awesome that you were able to get a game together. And you also touched on a few different mechanisms that we've spoken about kind of beyond gaming. So one is the voting mechanisms that you introduced. That same contract that would exist in your video game is the same thing you would apply to like a DAO voting game. And even when I was thinking about your game, it's kind of based on a heist, right? And you're trying to get away. And it made me think you can also potentially hide the value that someone's like acquired within that heist. So you don't know if like the person that you're trying to, let's say, attack, maybe they have a huge pot, or maybe you've wasted it on someone who had nothing.
Oh, that's awesome. That's an awesome idea. Yeah, you're totally right. We could even, you could potentially even have some night in the pool, to actually up the stakes.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what people do with their own social deduction games. I thought it was great. Thank you for participating, for springing up a game over the weekend, and for engaging people within our Discord, to talk about their games, to share these ideas. And I think over the weekend, we kind of went back and forth in some contracts. So mentioning like the voting contracts, which inspired me to work on a leaderboard contract, which I'll share within a week or two with the rest of the community.
Yeah, again, I appreciate it. It was really felt like just hanging around with a bunch of friends, especially when we did that space and we got to get. I had so many new ideas come to me just from that space alone that I still go back and check out the clips.
Nice, which reminds me, maybe we should share that space again. It was kind of a casual hangout between friends, but I think towards the second half, a lot of people started to jump in that were familiar with our stack or were asking great questions about how the mechanisms work within our ecosystem, and it spawned a lot of cool ideas that even had me thinking. So yeah, thank you for inviting me to that space.
Appreciate you coming through.
Now, that was an awesome game. Thank you for sharing. I want to hop over to Will to talk about what is your game, what inspired it, and what were you using Midnight for?
Yeah, for sure. So this is just generally the map. Sorry, the locations are all messy. It was a very short game jam. But yeah, so basic idea of, you're going around the world purchasing ingredients for, in this case, hazelnuts. So you can see, if we click on revenue here, hazelnut bars, these are the customers that are buying the average price. And, you're just basically trying to like stay profitable and keep your balance above zero. That's basic game loop, right? Then expenses, you can see like, where exactly the different ingredients come from. So you can see hazelnuts, cocoa beans, sugar, that kind of thing. The rest of the game is more of a text adventure game, which is maybe less fun to show off. So that's why I'm just showing this here. But so the twist on it is like what happens if we try and switch between, so what I'm going to call a traditional ledger, which is basically how most food companies operate nowadays, right? Where they all have their own private books. And I also tried to like put a special emphasis on like certifications, not just organic, but like I do a lot of work in sort of like the sustainable regenerative agriculture space. So sort of that interesting space and how it ties into blockchain is basically because you have to trust the third-party verifier, right, to verify that the food is organic or whatever it is, right? So theoretically, you can do all of this with blockchain, but with some of it, like you could have a smart contract that like checks, say, satellite data and is checking your tillage practices, and extra, it needs to be a little bit nuanced because sometimes you need to do some tillage practices. But you could do that in such a way that you don't actually need a third-party verifier, and therefore it can be hooked directly into the blockchain. So ideas like that. So, but you can see here. So if you were on traditional ledger, basically, so these are let me start here first. So basically, this is what management sees. So you can see these are basically the different transactions from the suppliers that you have, right? So they bought 200 units of hazelnuts at $2 each from a supplier in Granada, and using the certification, right? And obviously, so for these three things, it would be like what is public to the world. Obviously, with a traditional ledger, nothing is public, right? The company can do basically what they want, which is both a good and a bad thing. And then in a public ledger, obviously everything is public. Which maybe in the game you can have like the customers really trust that because everything is public, so maybe you've got like more consumers. But there's obvious disadvantages, such like if your competitors know exactly where your suppliers are and exactly how much you're paying them, they can just go and like take your suppliers. So obviously some things you don't want completely public. So this would go to the like semi-public ledger. So maybe you're hiding certain metadata like date and things and quantity and price. Maybe like you do want to be able to map your the produce, the food back to the supplier and the certificate, because that creates consumer trust, but you don't want these other things. So it was sort of kind of playing around with that idea. Obviously, what I actually implemented in 48 hours was a smaller scope of that because I definitely overscoped. But it's sort of the teaser idea of that, and how obviously midnight could be used in a lot of different cases here, especially sort of like hiding that data or proving certain things about certifications also. You could even prove, like, for example, that you paid the farmer a good price for certain produce without actually divulging the price, right? Things like that.
Yeah, that is so awesome. It gave me a lot of ideas, and I almost like this idea of like almost manipulating data. Like you can't really prove what's in everyone's systems. You just kind of, it's up to trust, right? So you can have this experience where there's public data that may be not necessarily accurate, but then you do something like the satellite check, right? Where you actually verify what's in there, like how many assets they have or how many factories they have or something like that, reveal that. And like, that's part of the gameplay, right? Is discovering who's telling the truth, who's manipulating their own markets and stuff.
Yeah, you could even have it such that like you are tempted to manipulate your own stock, right, and call certification something else when it's actually not, just because you get a cheaper price and you get more profit out of it, right? You could do some very interesting game decisions there. So yeah, that was the idea.
And the other thing I thought about too, when you show the map, and I played with it a bit yesterday, and you're going kind of from place to place, and then you have a story that's wrapped in that place. It also made me realize there's potentials for you to already have other places within the map that's not revealed. Whereas in the public blockchain, if you already program all of that in, I already know the locations where to look for all these things. But you can have it so that there's like this exploration mode, right? I go to South America, let's say, and I discovered there's maybe these other resources there that could spring up factories, things like that.
Yeah, that's a neat idea. Oh, yeah.
All right, awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of your game. Now, it's not only a game with assets, resources, and a loop, but it also is a bit educational, right? Because I can see like
Exactly.
what does a traditional ledger look like? What does a blockchain ledger look like? So it was an awesome learning experience, and I'd love to see you continue to work on the game and share it with our community.
Yeah, hoping to.
Awesome. Now I want to hop back to Anthony, because you did something that was fairly unique that I haven't seen within our ecosystem, within our community. So as part of building your game, you were working within Unity. And I've worked with Unity a ton of different times for game jams, for my own projects. And one of the biggest challenges with working with Unity and Web3 games is, how do you get the video game to connect to the wallet, to talk to the wallet, to be able to read data, to process transactions? And before the game jam even kicked off, you sent a screenshot to the community saying, hey, check this out. And it was a wallet within Unity. So I'd love if you could take a second to talk about the tool that you've created, kind of how you went about it, and yeah, share some details.
So yeah, again, inspired by the game jam, I literally named this project GGJ 2026 because I thought this was where I was going to start my project at, right? So I was like, well, what's the best, what would be the quickest way and also the most helpful way to help other developers? And it would be a wallet connection. So essentially, you'll be able to make calls from your WebGL games to your Lace wallet. So hopefully the demonstration works. Oh, look at that. Doesn't want to right now. Let me refresh it. Maybe it got stale.
Yeah, live demos are always tricky.
Oh, look, it pops up now. So we're going to go ahead and authorize it. But this is the pretty much the Lace wallet right here. Or are
So
you able to see it?
I don't think we see the pop-up, maybe because you're sharing just one window, but there should be a pop-up for you to sign in, right?
Yeah, there's a pop up. I want to show it because that's the magic of this. I wonder if I could just show the entire window. Probably not. This
But
one
yeah,
is
that's
probably.
essentially the first step for any game that's getting into a game engine, right? Is you have to be able to connect a wallet, even if it's a simple button, for them to be able to connect their account so you can begin reading data and writing to it. So this is a crucial component, I think, for anyone working within Unity. And that's why I wanted to bring you up to share it and see what other people think about it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now I just took my screen off. But let me see. Here it is. Just gonna go back to it. I'll go ahead and just sign the transaction. And you can see the wallet address pop up here. I even have a copy of the address, and it tells you what wallet you're on as well. It also shows the balance. But yeah, this is the crucial part, and I'm on the final step of just working on the smart contract. Making calls from the Unity game, building out the transactions, and submitting it to the smart contract.
Awesome. And I see there's a screenshot in the Discord. If you're not already in the GGJ channel and you're interested in talking about video games, I highly suggest you join that channel. If you want to ask Anthony more about his tool, get some more information, we're all in that channel talking about video games. So hop into there. And I'm curious, what's the long-term vision for this, Anthony?
The long term is honestly to get it ready for midnight. Once midnight comes out, hopefully this could be out and I could have a repo out so other devs, it'll be easier for other devs to make their games for midnight and Cardano. So it's honestly very exciting.
Awesome. I'm excited as well. Will, actually, what did you build your game on?
I used the Unreal Engine, which is kind of like using a tow truck to make to pull a tricycle because it's a text-based game. But I had a bunch of years of experience in that game engine, so that's why I used that.
Nice. So I'm curious also, how do you plan to, interact with wallets, things like Anthony is doing as well?
That would be interesting. At least for this game, you could probably at least have some of it on testnet, and it doesn't really matter, right? Because it's just sort of like a demonstration of things. But yeah, I would need something like what Anthony's created, except for Unreal, to interact that in and somehow fund those wallets.
Nice. And I've seen some other game studios have started working on Unreal. They're building some games at midnight, so I could potentially connect you with some of those development teams later. So thank you both for sharing the things that you've been working on, your participation in Global Game Jam, and for sharing your games. I'm sure it inspired a ton of different ideas. I think just having these casual conversations inspires me with a lot of different things to build out, whether that's contracts, interfaces, or tooling like you all just built. So I'm sure people will find the Unity tool to be super useful. So let us know, Anthony, once that's available, once it's public. If you want to talk to Anthony about it, he's in our Discord server under Mr. Paranormal. So reach out to him to talk about the tool. Now, for everyone viewing, I encourage you to go to our Global Game Jam page. There we have all the games that were submitted. I want to thank Will and Anthony for joining me on the talk today and for sharing their video games. So if you want to see the rest of the games that were built, scan that QR code, and there's about 5 different games. I'll be reaching out to those teams and seeing how we can help them get their games on pre-prod and then eventually mainnet. So thank you two for joining. Now, continuing on the thread of developer tools, let's shift to the tools that were developed by the community within the past week. I saw some awesome demos with our team, the solutions engineering. They held a closed meeting with one of our partners. So now I want to bring on Utkarsh from Webisoft to share the tools that he's been working on and what he's been building. So Utkarsh, can you introduce yourself and let us know what you've been working on?
Sounds good. Good morning, everyone, and it's a pleasure to be on the fireside here today with you, Jay. My name is Utkarsh, and I'm the VP of Engineering at Webisoft. We are a software and blockchain as a service studio based in Montreal, and we have been building some really, really exciting things on Midnight that I'm excited to tell you guys about. So I guess without any further ado, let's get started. We have been really trying from a bottom-up approach to simplify what it is like to build apps within the Midnight ecosystem. We've been seeing a lot of effort that's being put on by the Midnight Foundation and the Midnight team itself to improve the developer experience. But we feel that we can add much more value to it as the community and as the open source. So we have been building starter templates. Some of those work has been done by teams like Mesh.js. Shout out to those guys. Really great works. I don't know if you guys are watching the stream right now. We have a really cool MCP that's been developed by Idris from Midnight. I have really cool AI agent skills that I have been building to make it easier for you to build cool compact apps using Claude Code Cursor or your native AI tools while giving them full access to the compact knowledge base and more tools on top of that, like Web3 Fast. Now, we have been compounding these tools to a point where it's all over the place. So to make it easy for you guys to find where all of this information is at, we have created a simple site called Awesome Midnight because let's get it. Midnight is awesome. And to make it even more awesome and easy with developer tools, we want to have a simplified portal that shows you everything you need to get started. So you have a starter template, setup tools, contract results, proof servers, agent skills, everything you need to build on Midnight, these very cool and wonderful apps like we just saw on the presentation before, and even more ideas that you have with yourself. I guess Awesome Midnight is a great place to start. We're also putting together tutorials and guides and different blogs on different ideas that we have been pursuing within the community to build. And I really, really encourage you to check this website out and always share your feedback with me so we can improve this and make this better for everyone within the community. So this is one of the bigger effort that we have been pushing forward, and it's not just an effort from Webisoft alone. We started this, but it has become a community effort. So we are seeing engagement from all levels of community, people coming in together. And this repo is open source. So if you have ideas, if you have tools that you have built into Midnight and you want to put it out in front of the community, feel free to reach out to me. I'll add you as a contributor, and you can join us in this journey of making Midnight awesome.
Awesome. So I absolutely love the landing page. As soon as I saw it, I fell in love with it. I think it's structured really well to explore the different tools, to see starter kits. So yeah, if you're watching this, I've already seen 5 scans go through, but scan the Awesome Midnight QR code so that you can also see the different tools that are available. Now, Utkarsh, would you like to share some of those tools?
Yeah, so let's just jump into quickly with them. I'll just reshare my screen. I want to go through them quickly, but if you guys have not already tried, I would really encourage trying the Midnight Agent Skills package. It's very, very simple. You just run Midnight Agent Skills in it. It has about 15 weekly downloads right now, and it keeps going up and down between the two. But this basically helps you make your Claude Code and your Anthropic or other agent really, really native at writing Midnight and compact skills. So this is one of the tools I would really, really encourage the community to look at. The second tool that I was mentioning and that we have been supporting but did not start is the MCP. So if you guys find it really hard at setting up your local development environment, I guess MCP is gonna make a lot of things easier. It comes with a pre-built compiler, and a lot of other features that makes it easier for your Cloud Code and other agentic tools to really leverage Midnight. I guess between these two tools and the starter template, I guess you should have a really good foundation as a new developer coming into Midnight to build.
So one thing I want to mention is the skills section that you created for agents,
Yep.
because I've been vibe coding for a while, but I took a bit of a break and I came back to it last week and I noticed that there is this concept of skills. So it was new. I had to learn about it within the past week. I've developed, my own skills now. I have tons of different bots with different skill sets. But for people who aren't familiar, can you briefly go over what that is?
Oh, sure. So basically, skills is a way to think about. I don't know if a lot of you have seen the movie Matrix, but in the movie Matrix, when Neo is getting chased and they want to learn how to drive a helicopter, he decides, I need to download the skill to run to fly a helicopter, and then he's able to. Well, that's the future for agentic systems, where you can create a skill, which is basically a set of instructions. It's a really big documentation that the agent will always have in context that tells it the basics of Compact, the basics of Midnight, the basics of the services that we're using, whether it be the RPC and other MCP servers and URLs to connect to explorers and things of that nature. So once you start building, you don't have to go through multiple documents and give it to your agent in every single prompt. You don't have to guide your agent to a particular documentation or text to figure it out in sense of problem solving. They already have the entire context of the Midnight ecosystem within their knowledge base, making any agent you choose to use like a Midnight native agent from ground zero.
Yeah, awesome summary. I like the comparison you made with Matrix. I think that makes it pretty straightforward and clear. And anyone who's messing with these tools, you could also build your own custom skills too. Whether that's like you like to write content for Midnight, if you like to write tutorials, if you want to write code, you can develop all these different skills that are particular to the different areas we focus on Midnight to create your own content. So I encourage you all to check that out for yourself and definitely check out the tools that Ukash just made available.
Awesome. So yeah, I guess, and apart from this, guys, if you're building on Midnight and if you ever need any help, I'm available on Discord and I'm always lurking in the channels. My username's Bubble. Feel free to always reach out to me, and I would be more than happy to help you. We have not only been building tools, but we have also been using these tools to build our own ideas as well to see how that can come into life. So I guess that would bring me to the next segment of this presentation, where we are also taking our own take at gaming, and we really want to see how Midnight can truly bring the value of zero knowledge gaming and decentralized privacy to games we really love and share. So with that in mind, I want to reshare my screen and show you guys this really beautiful pet project we have been working on at the moment. So it's a very old project to me. It's a 2 or 3 year old project, I would say, started in about 2022. This is pre Midnight. We did not meet Midnight yet. This started in the universe where blockchains were completely private and privacy was very hard. Like we were doing this on a second generation blockchain, I would say. So this started as a research project at Webisoft Labs, and it took us about 2 years to build a system that has taken us about a week to rebuild on Midnight. So that's just the scale I want to talk about of ZKP and gaming that Midnight is making real in today's context. Building proofs and privacy systems was very hard. Building this entire ZK infrastructure where you have circuits on compact and contract side that can comprehend zero knowledge on chain, and then you're able to compute it off chain is like been very hard. And the way Midnight has solved this with Compact has made it so accessible that I'm very confident that we would be launching the beta of Dominion as soon as we go out. So just to give you guys a quick overview of what Dominion is, Dominion is the world's first mental poker on chain. There's been a lot of research papers, if you guys are into cryptography research, that I've been reading on along the years, where people have come up with different ways to play a game of poker between two players over a phone call, and the entire game runs without a trusted third party, and the integrity of the game is conserved just with zero knowledge proofs and the system itself. Building something like this has been very hard in the past, but we are having the time of our life right now building it on Midnight. And that's our GameFi angle. So everything that we are building in terms of toolkits and wallets and integrations, it's all coming together in this one beautiful protocol. So we're super excited to bring Dominion to you guys as well. I don't have a demo at the moment that's ready. We just started this idea, I would say, about 10 days ago. But we are so ahead that I can definitely promise the community that we can deliver you guys a demo in end of Feb to early March first week. So super excited for everyone to try that.
Nice. That's amazing. I'm super excited to try it as well. We have a lot of different gaming initiatives, so it'd be cool to see a lot of these games spring up. But ZK Poker in particular has a very specific need that I think we have a unique angle with, because I've seen, I think last year or the year before, there was this controversy that came out with online poker. And there was some company online where they offered people to purchase something that they called like a god's hand, which allowed them to see their competitors' hands. And when you have money on the line, you're betting and you're increasing, having that competitive advantage, just it's not fair. It doesn't make sense for you to really like play against someone like that. So how can these technologies kind of prevent those sort of things?
I would say these technologies really enable trustless decentralization. What that means is you can have a system where multiple parties are interacting and they can be sure that their interaction are always trustworthy because the system is created in that way. Now that's a simple way to put it, but ZK Poker really is something that puts it into practice. And if you guys really find this fascinating, I can just give you a quick overview of a small segment of how this works. So let's just think about shuffle. Shuffle is the coolest part in poker, and that's where the integrity of the game comes from because that's where the randomization happens. The way we do randomization in Dominion is very beautiful. I have a video for it I'll be sharing in a while, but it basically uses something we call mental poker shuffle. The way I would imagine mental poker shuffle is, let's say we have a deck of 52 cards and we have a set of 52 envelopes, and we put each of these cards in one of the envelopes. Now, imagine, Jay, you and I are doing the shuffle. I'll take a piece of envelope and I'll put a lock on one side. And I'll do that for all of the 52 envelopes with one card in each of them. And then you can imagine me shuffling this hypothetical deck of envelopes with one lock on each side and then handing it to you. Then you would do the same operation and you would put locks on your side. And these are your midnight ZK locks. Now, what's going to happen is we're going to shuffle a set of envelopes 52 times and lock it on both sides. So we're going to end up with a set that's nobody in the universe knows what the order is of, because nobody knows what the cards are. And only you and I can unlock the entire set. Now, I pick two cards and you pick two cards on the top, and you give me your keys to unlock them. And then I use my own keys to unlock them. So I take off the locks that you put on my envelopes, and then I take off the locks that I did and I take my cards out, and you do the same. And using this, we're able to shuffle. So using tricks and techniques like this, the whole game of mental poker shuffle and ZK shuffle uses these formulas and methods on top of midnight to make something really beautiful happen. Cool, right?
Yeah, that's really awesome. And it makes me think about kind of a section within gaming that we don't really talk about. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on this more,
Yeah.
is anti-cheat mechanisms, right? Is that you can build these proof systems that act as anti-cheat mechanisms. And for me, it's obvious in poker, but can you maybe think of different examples for different types of games?
I would say a game at the end of the day, if you think about it at a global scale, is like a blockchain. A game is a state machine. You're interacting with the state machine and it needs to have some kind of an output or final state. That's exactly what we have in blockchain, more or less. And we have these primitives in blockchain that prevent exactly what you define, cheating and malice, basically. So nobody can double spend money, nobody can spend someone else's money, nobody can approve something on someone else's behalf without their permission. So I would say a similar state machine model would come to gaming, and more like decentralized gaming. So you would have these games that would be based on this trustless architecture where the state of the game, just like a blockchain, is always conserved using these cryptographic primitives that we built our entire chain stack on. So I feel that that's going to be the future of decentralized trustless gaming, where you don't have centralized entities. Like Counter-Strike, for example, has centralized servers. Rockstar and GT has centralized servers. All the esports we play today have centralized servers. I feel in 10 years we would have a segment of gaming that decentralizes this, and this is how those systems would operate.
Yeah, I completely agree, especially because a lot of these games are becoming so big that they're equivalent to like some countries' economies, right?
Basically.
And And in that case, you don't want some like essentially dictator like wiping your data, manipulating it in some sort of way. And this kind of prevents all of that, right?
Exactly. If you look at a good example for this, I don't know a lot of people who are really deep into the CSGO communities, but if you were, you would have learned that people's loot boxes lost a lot of their value suddenly, and Valve did something very messy that changed how the mechanics of the game worked without consulting the community or anybody as a whole. So something like that, where a single entity can decide and change the market and the landscape of an ecosystem, would also be prevented in case of a completely decentralized gaming ecosystem that we are building towards.
And you actually with the loot box thing, you remind me of another kind of controversy from a year or two ago where there was some game, it's a pretty famous game, but they changed the odds of you getting a rare item, and it basically minimized it to like almost impossible for anyone to get. And they didn't tell anyone that they did this, right? So people are paying to try to get these loot boxes, but the probability of them getting the item they want just went from like, let's say a 5% chance to like 0.001% chance. So things like that, you also can't just kind of do in the dark, right? You have to
Exactly. And I don't think the infrastructure to make public games, public private games really viable existed until midnight and the whole privacy ecosystem itself. So I feel this is really a stepping stone towards that future, and this is what would lay the foundation layer for privacy that would then enable like trustless gaming globally.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And if you're someone who's watching the stream and you're interested in this kind of technology, you're thinking about anti-cheat mechanisms, you're thinking about games that interact with blockchains but need a private component, then reach out to us at midnight. Reach out to Utkarsh to see the tools that he's working on in the global community. Do you have any more tools or any things you want to share with the community?
I would say apart from this, I have already shared with the community a very interesting tool that we have built at Webisoft called Web3 Fast. Uh, we have already put people from the Midnight community who are using it to build their own dApps and apps and applications live. That is taking a new update for pre-pod next week. So you should be able to start building apps on the new Midnight pre-prod network, and would be able to start leveraging AI automated tooling right within your browser. So if you feel awesome Midnight and everything we have built for self-guided development is a little bit hard, and you want to have an experience of what it is like to build and see apps on Midnight, Web3 Fast is the way to go. So would be super happy if you guys checked it out, and always feel free to share feedbacks with me in Discord and any other channels you feel are reachable. And yeah, that I guess that's all I have to share.
Awesome. So yeah, if you're watching this, scan that QR code for Web3 Fast. Plenty of us have played around with it. So at this point now, you have tools for fully, written smart contracts. If you're not familiar with that at all, for you to get things testing, for you to get familiar with the language, we have assisted tools like our MCP servers that you can kind of use to brainstorm your own ideas, get some contract back, go back and forth. And we'll be working on some updates over the next week because as Utkarsh alluded to, there's some updates with pre-prod, right? So we'll get to that in a bit. So any last words, Utkarsh, for tips and tricks on gaming, tool stacks, or like any other tools that people can find useful?
I would say Midnight is one of the biggest opportunities we have right now in terms of building really cool and more innovative and groundbreaking stuff. And I would really encourage everybody on the podcast and the Fireside today is to really look at ideas you have in the world today and how those could be more privacy enabled and decentralized. And I would say that's the biggest opportunity that Midnight's really presenting us. And I guess these tools are really making it accessible for anybody to access those opportunities and execute on them. So with that in mind, thank you so much for having me here today, Jay, and to the Midnight team. And it's a real pleasure to be building on Midnight and to be building alongside everyone here.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for coming on. It's always an awesome opportunity to talk to you, to learn about what you're building. And for anyone who's not familiar with Utkarsh, he is an elite member. So reach out to him. He's in all of our chats and always accessible. He's constantly building tools, constantly posting. So reach out to use his tools, to work with him, and to learn more about Midnight. Like I mentioned, he's an elite member, so he has a lot of context on the things that we're working on and can help you with your projects. So thank you, Utkarsh, for coming on. And now it's time for foundation and network updates. So the first thing I want to do is go over bounties. So we've been working on some bounties that we've proposed to the community. And now I'd like to share my screen to congratulate some of our bounty participants. So the first one is this one that I'm sharing here. It was a tutorial on how to set up Windows. So if you've started to work with Midnight and you have a Windows PC, you may have run into some errors and some bugs. So we realized that we needed to communicate to people that right now we're not supporting Windows. If you want to build on Midnight, you would have to use Mac or Linux. So one of our community members created a guide on how to get yourself set up on Windows by downloading Ubuntu, following the instructions. So this was recently merged into our docs. You can see here it was merged. They had a successful bounty. So I just want to thank Banana Boy One for their contributions. We'll be reaching out to you soon for your bounty. And I just want to thank you for your participation. Next up, we have another bounty here that I'll start sharing this tab. This actually came out of some struggles that some of our community members had at a previous hackathon. So there are a couple of different developers that were using Nix OS, and they said, hey, we're running into some issues and we need a guide on how to troubleshoot this. So we put this bounty up and we have someone who's successfully completed the bounty. So I want to say congratulations to Guto Pro for submitting the bounty. You can read through their tutorial here. It's been merged, so you can look through that document and how to build with Nix OS and Midnight. So congratulations on those people who have participated in our bounties. We'll have a few more coming up, and we'll be reviewing your bounty shortly. Now, along the lines of bounties, I want to share this other tab where I'll discuss the upcoming bounties. So if you're not familiar with this, you can go to this URL here to see all of our bounties. And if you scroll to the bottom, you can see the ones that we're currently discussing on our community board and sharing with other people. But what I want to emphasize is that besides our content bounties, which we've been going over the past couple of weeks, we have this gaming bounties coming up. And I've been alluding to new opportunities that game developers will have. So we are going to help you kind of look into your games, help you with your contracts, and we'll be issuing bounties so that you can be rewarded for your games. Because I mentioned over the next month or two, we'll be focusing more on video games, trying to get them to pre-prod and eventually to mainnet. So watch our community board, look out for bounties because we have some coming soon for gaming in particular. And if you've participated in the Global Game Jam, I want to share that not only will you have access to those bounties, but if you go to our Zealy Quest, you'll notice that there's a new section here called Game Jamming. So go over to our Zealy Quest, participate in those quests there. You can see that you'll get points for joining our channel, for submitting game ideas, for promoting your games, and we'll be adding more quests. Right now, we're in the middle of a sprint for Global Game Jam. So you can participate in those quests, get on the leaderboard, and we'll be issuing rewards for that as well. So check out our Zealy Quest if you haven't, if you've already participated in Global Game Jam so that you can get those points. Next on our list of updates is the Build Club. So we kicked off the Build Club this week, and it's something that we briefly mentioned to other participants in our community. The Build Club is a 8-week program to take people from MVP to eventually going on to pre-prod and mainnets and building a real company. So if you want to learn more about the Build Club, you can visit this page to learn more about the program, the 8 weeks, the curriculum. You can see all of our mentors that we have that the teams can consult with. We'll be hosting master classes and recording those sessions and making them accessible to the community. So you can see talks on like how to go to markets, how to raise capital, things of that nature. And what I want to emphasize here is that we've already kicked off our first cohort this week, and we're meeting with those teams, discussing their ideas. But if you're interested in the next cohort, I suggest that you apply here. We weren't able to get through all the teams. We had, I think, 60 to 70 teams apply. We narrowed it down to about 10 that we're working with closely. So if you weren't able to make this cohort, I suggest you sign up for the next one. Start talking to us, start sharing your ideas, not only with us, but in the Discord, in the forum, to get people behind your projects, to you see who would want to use your products and services to validate your ideas and to start prepping for the next cohort. So I encourage you all to take a look at the Build Club page and sign up for the next cohort. Now, I want to get into network updates. So as Utkarsh alluded to earlier, we now have pre-prod live, and it's live as of last week. So I encourage you all to start looking back into your repos. If you have an old repo, you're going to want to start looking into how to migrate it from testnet 02 to our pre-prod environment, because as of February, the end of this month, we will be deprecating testnet 02. So everyone has to migrate onto pre-prod. So I highly suggest start looking into that now. We are currently working on migration guides. If you look through our repos, you can kind of see a preview of that, but we'll put out a formal migration guide. We're going to update our docs, and we're going to help everyone over the next couple of weeks to migrate to pre-prod. Even our partners are just starting to migrate. So this week we pushed out, the release of the pre-prod. Next week, we'll have our partners starting to onboard and sharing their tools with you all so that you can start accessing them on pre-prod. But that is the new test environments that you'll all be able to test your applications with. So now this brings us to the top of our stream. I'm just going to look briefly. If you have any questions, please post them now on the YouTube live chat so I can see them. Just looking at some different comments here. Is this virtual, or do people go somewhere for the time they are in Build Club? So Build Club is happening all online. It's all virtual. We have kind of closed groups for that where people can ask questions for the mentors, but it's all virtual. So if you're interested in participating, there is no geographic location that we're not working with. We have teams from Japan, from India, from South America. So we are completely dispersed throughout the world. There's no requirement for you to be in a particular location. Everything's happening online. All the sessions are recorded. We also have some assignments to help you get your project along further. So that's all in a closed channel. And if you're interested in participating, you don't have to be in person. You can apply, and we'll reach out to you once the next cohort is open. Let's see. I saw something about a terminal, but I think that may be a game or something I'm not familiar with. So unfortunately, I do not have more details for you there. I think another QR code we saw go up briefly was on our Academy. So if you're not familiar, check out our Academy. We have a bunch of lessons on Midnight 101, and we'll be releasing more lessons there. So you can see the new Midnight Academy. I think we promoted it last week, but if you're new here and you haven't seen it, you can go through the courses, learn about Midnight 101s. You end up with a certificate at the end of it. And once we go to mainnet, it'll be awesome to see those become NFTs. So start getting your credits now, start learning about Midnight, and catch up to speed. Let's see, should I migrate my Midnight tokens? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that question. Let's see, is there any update on the second season of the Embassy program? I want to say you're referring to Ambassador program, not Embassy. Those updates will be placed in the Discord channel. If you're part of either the Night Force or the Elites, we have private channels for you to communicate with the team, so you can see updates there when the time is right. Let's see, are there any other questions? So someone new to building can go through these stuff. Begin to build. From Isaiah. Yeah, so if you take a look at Awesome Midnight, that link that Utkarsh shared, those tools are available right now out of the box. You can start with the starter templates. The MCP servers are all live and running. So visit those URLs and start testing and provide us some feedback. Let us know what you think. Let us know what we can improve. Okay, I don't see any other immediate questions. Great. So I want to thank you all for participating and showing up to our Dev Hangout today. I'm always available online, so you can always send me a message on Discord, Telegram, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever works best for you. So if you're building on Midnight, if you're building video games, if you're building dApps, whether that's finance, or AI, whatever it may be, if there is a privacy component, we want to talk to you. So reach out to me and we'll see how we can work together. I want to thank you all again for tuning in. I go by Jay. I'm a DevRel engineer over at Midnight, and